YouTube, Dark Magician of Team Sorcerers here, and welcome back to What If Wednesday. And in this one is the first redo that I'm doing, because before my channel disappeared in 2019, I did have a few What If videos. So this one is basically what if Elemental Hero Shining Flare Wingman was my #1 favourite card instead of my second favourite. What then? Well, quite simply, it would mean that my Elemental Hero deck would then become my favourite and signature deck instead of Dark Magician, despite the fact that my Dark Magician and generic Warrior decks are statistically better, or at least they were better at the time. So I would have gone out my way to get this deck built as quickly as possible, but I feel like it still wouldn't have been ready until like June 2006, despite the fact that I was still missing a Necro Shade. But nevertheless, it would have been ready. Now, even though Elemental Heroes have lots of fusions to go into, building up to Shining Flare Wingman would have been the go-to strategy, and of course the simplest way to do it would be to fuse Sparkman and King of the Swamp. Although I still would have played Flame Wingman, or at least I would have done at first, but then I would have gone with the route that my friend Tobias suggested, and that was just not bother with Avian Burstinatrix and Flame Wingman, or Phoenix Enforcer actually. As like I said, fusing King of the Swamp and Sparkman together would be a lot easier, so what I would have done was try and make the deck as good as I possibly can, and of course it would have DD Warrior Lady and Exile Force, which of course were two of the very best warrior type monsters in the game at the time. It would have made sense, since it is a warrior archetype. And I would have played this in more tournaments than I would have done with Dark Magician. And during the early Pharaoh's Elite days, I would of course consistently topped with it, as like I said before, until like until February 2008, I was always able to at least top 8 with whatever deck I played, whether it was this, Dark Magician, Warriors, or Exodia. And I'd get a few wins as well. So, I mean, there is a possibility that I could have actually won a tournament with my Elemental Hero deck, and of course been the first person to ever do it. Of course, it would have had to have been pulled off like before, later on in January 2008, because someone else, of course, did it first, which I didn't find out until the spring of 2009. I was like, damn it, I wanted to do that first. But yeah, I don't think I would have done that well in the Trotters tournaments with this deck, but Pharaoh's Elite, absolutely. Of course, statistically I would have had a better chance in the Hall tournaments than I would have done at the ones held at Derek's house. So yeah, there is a good chance I would have done this. Of course, eventually I still would have won his tournaments with Dark Magician and Warriors as well. I forgot about machines as well. Yeah, machines were statistically better than elemental heroes back then. But yeah, that's basically how I would have rolled, and of course this deck would have still been badly affected when Synchros came into the game and the fusion deck was renamed the extra deck, and then we had the 15 card limit. And like I said, this was so annoying for us elemental hero players because it meant we couldn't play all the fusions that we wanted. So I was basically forced to pick and choose which ones to keep and which ones to drop. Obviously Shining Flare Wingman wouldn't have been dropped, but I don't know if I would have played 2 or 3. I know I used to play 3, like in the GX era, but I don't know if I still would have played 3 later on, unless of course I dedicated the whole Elemental Hero deck to specifically be based on Shining Flare Wingman. I have been asked if I ever thought about making a deck solely based on him. I mean, I could have done. I don't know why I didn't think of that, but I feel like just playing all the fusions was just more fun, I guess. But yeah, that's how I would have rolled, and I still would have ended up struggling later on. I still would have played it in that Milton Keynes Fortune Tour qualifier and made the top 4 and just got done in due to bricks. Yeah, I still would have had a hard time throughout 2009, and Dark Magician would still go on to play Prismagician. I don't feel like that still wouldn't have been as strong as my Elemental Hero deck. But I still would have mainly played this deck, otherwise not much would have changed really. I mean, Legendary Hero would no doubt have still been made, possibly, and Shining Flare Wingman would have been one of the main, still would have been one of the boss monsters alongside Dark Magician, Neo, Stardust Dragon and Utopia, but I don't know, it would have still been a weird mix. A mix that would have worked though. And I still think I would have still made Dark Magician Hero. But I guess ultimately I would have gone back to simply playing Dark Magician, Elemental Heroes and Rainbow News as separate decks. And of course, the deck would still be hurt by the fact that Stratos was banned at the time, which, like I said, I was genuinely annoyed and upset about. But I just still simply would have made do without him until he got unbanned. It's hard to say how well this deck would have done if I'd played it in more hall tournaments at Rivets and at Dead Universe Comics. Yeah, other than that, the only difference would be I'd be playing this deck more than Dark Magician, although although this deck would have still been badly affected by Master Rule 4, since this is one of several decks that would have been cucked by the rules from back then. And yeah, that would have actually forced me to try and put some link monsters into my Elemental Hero deck. And of course, as you know, I've never ever played any other extra deck monsters in my Elemental Hero deck, because I wanted to keep it pure and old school, like even through Master Rule 4. It still worked out okay, but maybe I would have put in things like Solid Soldier and Isolde, or just really any generic link monster that can have multiple arrows pointing downwards, so that way I can still try and play heroes how they should have been played. And then, of course, once Master Rule 5 kicked in, it would have gone back to being played the way it was before. And then, statistically, it would end up being my strongest deck, considering the insane support it got in Legendary Duelist 6 and Power of the Elements. And yeah, that's how things would have gone down if Shining Flare Wingman became my #1 favourite card. So, yeah. That's all I got. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this what if scenario, and I'll catch you later. See ya.